Today we're going to have a look at how to create chart components in your Lumira applications. Now, chart components are more straightforward in comparison to table components in the sense that you only have one component to choose from that will display a chart. So it's the chart component right here. The other ones are more to give more interactivity options when feeding, for example, the chart with new dimensions and new values and so on, or giving the user on runtime the possibility of changing and modifying the properties of that chart or changing the type of the chart. Finally, you also have a map component, which we will see in another video, as it is a bit more complex than regular charts. So how do we do? Just like pretty much everything else that we've seen so far with components, you click on the chart component and drag and drop it wherever you want to. And as ever, we can always modify the layout, so where it is positioned and the size and the width of the component. Now, as you can see, it comes up with empty and it asks to add measures or dimensions. That's of course because we have not yet bound a data source to it. And the way we do this is to go into properties in the data source and we specify which data source we want to apply it. So in our case, I'll say sales city, for example. Wait for it to populate, and as we can see now, we have something that pops up, the sales revenue based on the city. Now, we can modify the look and feel of the chart, as well as the type of the chart, and as well the data selection. So if we go here, we can specify which data selection to display on the chart. This is for cases where, for example, you have a data source which has multiple measures and you just want to display one, for example, or you want to limit the number of members you want to display it for, let's say 5 members. But in our case, we want to see everything. So we'll click on cancel. And now, how do we modify the look of the chart? We go into chart configuration. It opens up a panel now where we can identify how to display the elements inside of your chart, as well as defining certain properties of the chart itself. Now, for example, here you can specify which exact type of chart you want. As you can see, we have quite a bit of options in the column and bars and bullets, lines, pie charts, donut charts, heat maps, tag clouds, as well as just simple numeric points. We can also swap the measures and dimension objects so that instead of a column chart, it's a bar chart. And we can also, if we had more than one dimension here, we could also further identify the dimensions based on color. So for example, let's have a look here with city. As you can see, the chart changes somewhat as it displays the sales revenue, and each color represents a different city. In our case, we'll put it back because we want to actually see what the cities are. And in the properties panel, you can define any visual properties that you want. So the padding, for example, if there's any background color, the interactive mode of for this chart, how interactive it is, and you can identify as well for each column, the shape of the column, the color, and so on. Data labels, the axis titles, for example. I don't want to see sales revenue title or the city. title below because we already know what it is. So I want to remove them, and I can just say tick that off. I want to keep the title of the chart itself, and I want to keep the data labels. So this is pretty much what I end up with. As you can see, you have even more options to modify the properties for. You can also add a legend, for example. And we just click on OK and wait for it to update. And there you go. My new chart is ready and ready to be used.